Hello everyone, thank you for joining this webinar. Today our topic is break of the strong pawn center. We are going to discuss what plans to use to be able to break the pawn center and how to play against the pawn center. Okay, now we are waiting for more attendees to come. Please look at this screen and this is the first question for those who already came. Your task is just to evaluate the position and maybe try to come up with a plan. I can also enable microphone for everyone who wants. So Vadim, now you can speak. I also enabled the microphone to Yashu.
Hi.
Hi, Vadim. Yeah, I can hear you.
Good.
Yashu, do you hear us? Okay, we wait for more people to come. Vadim, so try to think about this position and try to come up with the plan for black. It's black's turn now.
Free pawn center. 3 pawns in the center.
Yeah, so f4, e4, d4.
It's strong center.
Oh, yes, it is. And how to play against it? What comes to your mind?
No.
So usually we meet such type of the positions where we play against, maybe when, for example, in Grunfeld defense, where white has pawns on e4, d4, and c3, and then black tries to attack the center with c5. Here the position is quite similar. And in this type of the position, the main idea, in Grunfeld, the main idea is that we should somehow increase the pressure on the d4 pawn.
Maybe double upper rooks.
Double the
on
rooks on the d file.
Yes.
Yeah, maybe it makes sense. Okay, so while we are waiting for more participants to come, and before I start explaining how to play in this position, I want to repeat that today is the last day to register for our online tournament. So I can show.
Oh.
Yeah, it starts tomorrow. Tomorrow I'm going to make pairings and to let you know who you are going to play with.
And will you post on Facebook?
Yeah, I'll post it on Facebook or on and of course in our Chess.com group. Okay, so to register for the tournament, you should fill this form. I already sent the link to everyone. So actually, let's just check who gonna play. Now there are how many? 18, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, 21 applications. Okay, 21. And I also want to, yeah, okay, here it. Yeah, 21, but I think I would add one more, but here you see someone with a high rating like 1900, so this guy will be excluded because we only participants with feeder or US CF or CFC rating under 1800 are allowed for this tournament. So and this is my rating. Of course, I will be excluded too. I'm not going to play. So I think it will be 20 players. Okay, fine. Okay, so we are going we are waiting for 2 more people to come, at least 2 more.
So there will be 18 people so far in the tournament. 19.
19, and I'm going to add 2 more manually. So
Okay.
it will be 20. I think I will exclude 1 and add 2 more. Oh, yeah, maybe 20, or yeah, I think it would be 20. Anyway, it's time to register. So today is the last day, and tomorrow morning I'll do pairings. Okay, we have Michael and Natalia joined. Okay, who wants microphone? Michael, I enabled microphone to you. I also did the same thing to Natalie. So now everyone can speak. We are waiting for one more person to come. My student from America, but I don't know what. Okay, let me just.
Might not be able to make it.
Huh?
The student might not be able to make it.
Okay, yeah. So everyone. Okay, now we have. Okay, these 5 who are expected to come came. Just Elliot didn't come. Okay, fine, but maybe he will join later, what he usually does. So let me just repeat for those. So guys, if you want to use your microphone, it's available. Just find the settings. This is the icon of Wickhole. Okay, so please find the settings and make your microphone enable. Be sure that the microphone is connected. If not, use. If for some reason you can't use your microphone, just use the chat to suggest moves when I ask. Or if for any questions, you can also use the chat or ask them by voice.
Хорошо.
Okay, so Michael learns to speak Russian. Okay, guys, let's start. So today our topic is how to break the strong pawn center, what means how to play against a strong pawn center. And this is the fragment from the game between Svetozar Grigorich and Vasily Smyslov. Here, Vasily Smyslov was playing with black pieces, and I asked you to come up with a plan for black. So only Vadim suggested anything. He suggested to double the rooks on the d file to increase the pressure on d4. But at the same time, Vadim, do you see the pawn on c5 hanging? If, for example, you play rook d7 or something like that, don't you think you blunder pawn? Okay. So yeah, rook d7 is too slow. What to do with this hanging pawn? If we take on d4, then c takes on d4, and it opens the rook activity. I mean, now our queen's position is really bad, and he can somehow exploit it by playing d5 with his pawn, or bishop d5 or b5. So that's why c takes on d4 is a bad move. Our task is to slightly close the position, but make some squares available for our pieces maneuvers. Otherwise, our maneuvers will be restricted. So any suggestions how to play in these exact positions?
As white. Yeah.
As black, you are playing for black, because black, white has a strong pawn center, and black should create a break or just somehow adapt how to play against the strong center.
Knight to knight to a5.
Yeah, a knight a5. This is what was played in the game. Taking bishop and e4 pawns simultaneously. Of course, in this position, bishop d3 to protect the pawn. And now another question: how to play now? Because the pawn on c5 is still hanging. Oh, actually, no, the pawn is not hanging because of the pin. Anyway, what do you think you should do in this position? We need somehow interact with our pieces. While the center is so stable, we can't find any good squares to locate our pieces to create a counterplay. So we should slightly change the pawn structure in the center.
Well, if you play f5, then it could create a break, but it could also lock up the position more. Just activates one bishop, but closes the other one in. So
that's true. And actually, f5 is the best option here. It closes the bishop, but f5 was played. So then they played e5, and it opened this bishop. It also gave us the d5 square for our bishop. As for this one, we can activate it by playing bishop f8.
Oh, yeah.
So looks like when white plays e5, it's in our favor. What if knight g3? Where he doesn't want to advance the pawn, but wants to keep the pressure in the center. And if now we take on e4, then trade, we make our e6 pawn a weakness. What would you do in this position for black now? No, there are several ideas. Let's just maybe find the best one. I mean, just anyone. So, for example, what to do to be able to increase the pressure on the e4 pawn? Now it's well protected.
Well, if you played c4, that would only push the bishop back to c2.
Yes, and this is what actually we don't want to do, because now this bishop that is located on d3 prevents white from taking the c5 pawn because it's hanging. Oh, if we play c4, maybe it's still okay, but the center is closed.
Doesn't help.
Okay, so Natalie suggested to play h5, which makes sense, of course, but no, the idea is to play h4, then take on e4. That makes sense. This is a good plan, I think. However, bishop f6 is better with the same idea, but with the bishop. Another option is just to play queen d6 or queen d7 with the same idea, just to increase the pressure on d4. What can he do? What if, for example, he moves the other rook? How would we play? Oh, okay. We take first, and how to play then? Can we take on d4 with our bishop now? So, for example, bishop d4, what now white can do? Okay, so you both guys think that we can. Okay, who? No. Okay, Yashu, can you explain why not?
d4, the bishop can either play bishop to c2 or bishop b1, pinning your queen.
But then, okay, I can show. If then you play bishop b1, then bishop e3, for example, and this queen is not hanging because the white queen is hanging. So now it looks fine because after queen e3, just queen d1, rook d1, rook d1, check, king escapes, rook takes on b1, and this position is in black favor. But of course we can't take on d4 because instead of making a pin immediately, white just takes on f5. What to do? If he takes on f5, then it's easy. Then just bishop c4 check, and finally white takes on d4. If g takes on f5, then bishop f5 can be played. Or what then? For example, if pawn takes, then just rook d4 or bishop d4. Oh, bishop d4, for example. So that we win a piece back. This position is better. It's obvious because of the weakness of the king on g8. What else? If, for example, bishop e3 in this position, then queen takes on e3. Now this queen and the pawn on e6 both are hanging. Looks like there is nothing that black can do except queen takes on d1. Queen d1, rook d1, rook d1, king here. And in this position, again, white is winning because if he takes the knight, the game should be over soon. For example, queen e6, then king f8, knight f5, threatening to checkmate with queen e7 and g7. I don't really see what black can do here to protect. Maybe knight c6 would work. But if so, just maybe something like queen h6, then queen h7 or queen g7. So, for example, I don't know, king e8 move maybe. If king e8, then maybe knight d6 fork. So with this king being so weak, white is much better here. I think it's even winning. Actually, for example, queen h5 here is enough to win. We just take the rook on d1 and we are up the material. if your king goes to g8, then we checkmate on g7. If king f7, then queen h5. So this is a winning position. So now we cover it. We cover it both. E takes f5 and g takes on f5. What if he takes on e3 now, immediately? If so, then queen takes e3, and then it's almost the same thing. If black doesn't want to lose a pawn, he has to take on f5, because now two of his pawns are hanging, and if he takes with the e pawn, then bishop c4 winning the queen. If he takes with the g pawn, then we take with our bishop here, and we win. I mean, white wins. So actually, bishop d4 didn't work. No, c takes on d4 can be played, but bishop d4 is a bad move in this position, and instead I suggest to play just rook a to c8. Then rook straight, the pawn is a potential weakness. Here black is slightly better because he has to play e5 with his pawn to stop our bishop activity. We can relocate the knight, we control the file. Our knight can move to c4, and after this pawn is advanced, the bishop can come to d5, attacking on a2. So this is how black is better. So that's why d4 wasn't hanging. And knight g3 is not actually a good move. White has to play e5. c4, closing the position. So here the only weakness is the pawn on e6 that can be easily protected with bishop d5. And I also want you to notice that it's not an easy task to get the knight from e2 to g5 to attack on e6. Bishop c2, knight to c6, g4 with the idea to start any counterplay on the king side. Looks like there is nothing that white can do. I mean, look, if there is no king side activity, then white is stuck, and it's only black who can come up with a plan and improve his position. By the way, what do you think here black should do?
Knight e7.
Knight e7, knight d5, right?
Yeah.
And then?
Maybe try to take the dark squared bishop that's defending all those pawns.
Actually, the dark squared bishop is the worst piece in this position. It's totally restricted, so you shouldn't take it. You may take it later, maybe when you slightly open the position.
Okay.
And if you think that it really would help. So yeah, knight can move to d5. It's this position is the best for this knight. But what else? How to win the game? Oh, there is no certain winning plan. Of course, white will.
If that knight's on d5, maybe you can push the b and the a pawns.
Yes, exactly.
On that side.
So yes, to get the pieces, try to enter to the second rank with our rooks, maybe to create a distant pass pawn on the c file. So this is our plan. No, I can show you. So knight, I'm not sure that knight e7, d5 is what we should do right now, but this is the plan. Well, knight e7, knight d5. Okay, g4 is played, and here, of course, knight e7, because now the diagonal is open, and maybe queen c6 can be played with the temper. King h2, queen c6. There is no concrete threat in this move, but knight g3 was played. So while the queen is on f2, we can't go to g2 or even h1. And now, how would you play in this position for black? Okay, here to be able to answer to this question, you should first decide whether you should move your pieces to the king side to help to defend your king's position, or you should ignore it and do some other activity.
Maybe.
Michael, can you repeat it, please?
Rook d5?
What's the idea of rook d5?
To bring it over to the other side, but
To a5.
But
But
maybe
can...
it should be behind those pawns.
No, I don't think it works because just a4 can be played as well as just bishop b1. So the rooks should be behind the pawns.
Okay.
I think you should skip. I think you should ignore and play on the queen side, because if there is anything, you can move your king to h8 and bring the rook over to g8.
That's right. And what do you suggest to play on the? I mean, which move to start to play on the queen side?
I think to start with a5.
A5, and how to deal with a4? Okay, that's why you should start with b5. a4,
okay.
a6 for now, because there is nothing concrete. It's too early to take. As for b4, we are not prepared for this move. We just lose the pawn. So that's why here just a6. Rook b1, rook a b8. Bishop d2. Okay, looks like now we are stuck with our pieces on the queen side. What do you suggest we should do to continue?
I think bring our knight to d5.
Knight to d5, and what after that?
Probably move the bishop out the way.
Bishop to f8.
You light squared bishop.
You light squared bishop.
The light squared bishop.
To a8, right? To open the b file. Okay, and then would you like to advance your b pawn?
Yes.
First
I have.
Maybe
first actually, yeah.
Oh yeah, bishop f8 or b4, c takes, c3 with a tempo, and then take on b4. Maybe like this. Yeah, this is a possible plan in this position. However, here Vasily Smyslov decided to take on a4. It's not the best plan, I think, but it's another possible idea. What does he want to do? He thinks that now when black has double pawn on the a file, this rook will be distracted to the a file. And then we can use the b file to get into the enemy camp, maybe with rook b2 move. Rook a1, bishop a8, bishop a4, the queen is hanging, queen moves, with the idea to play rook to b2. White plays rook a2 to stop this activity. What black should do in this position?
Bishop to c6, because opponent's light square bishop is better.
Oh, really? I was absolutely sure that our light squared bishop is better because it has, it forces the queen to stay there to be able to protect the g2 pawn. Otherwise, we can penetrate his camp with queen b7, queen g2. So actually, of course, this bishop is better. It controls the whole diagonal, while this one stays only on the edge of the board and doesn't really have any threats.
You can also play knight to d5 and then play queen to a5, something like that.
Queen a5. What's the idea of to attack on c3? No, knight d5 is a good move. But I don't understand your queen a5 idea.
Oh, there's also, oh yeah, I guess you still couldn't even take the pawn, but you can also double rooks on the
Yeah.
on the b file.
This is what exactly Vasily Smyslov did. He played rook b6. G takes on f5. Which pawn you think you should take with?
E.
Of course, E, because you shouldn't allow any activity on the king side. And you can successfully block the E and D pawns. So you have nothing to worry while you have your light squared bishop and your knight on e7. You can just stop these pawns. Bishop c1, knight d5, knight e2, protecting this pawn. Okay, what to do now? How to continue?
Play rook d2 b1 b8, rook d to b8.
Rook d to b8, and
then go to b1.
can you go to b1 immediately? No, I think yeah, you can. So why not to go to b1 immediately, for example?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. As well as rook d2 b8 makes sense, with the idea maybe to get to b1 later, or maybe get to b2 if there is no bishop. As for this concrete position, maybe just bishop f8 was a good move, with the idea to somehow join the bishop. For example, let's say bishop, okay, not rook d1, but bishop d1, because it has nothing to do on.
Oh,
Wait,
I think I have an idea.
I'll just show, and you will continue. Yeah. So bishop e7, then h4, and then maybe queen b7, with the idea to get the king to h8, to be prepared for this move, h5. Then get the rook to the g file, and if white wants to open the g file, he is welcome, because we have a counterplay on the g2 square, and here just rook b1, and then maybe we can advance the a pawn. What idea did you have?
I think rook to b3.
Oh, and if bishop b3?
Then take with the pawn.
So it's a positional sacrifice. There is nothing concrete, or you see that you can win the material back.
But because I think you get a good position with that.
Okay. Actually, you're right. So I don't think that rook b3 should be played now, but it was played in a few moves. a5, bishop c2, and then rook b3. So yeah, that makes sense to sacrifice the exchange. What can he do? Maybe just queen e1 was a good move, not to accept this sacrifice. But in the game, white did it. He took, pawn takes, rook goes to a4, and bishop f8. What was the idea of bishop f8?
Do not let the bishop to a3.
Or what if bishop goes to a3 right now?
Then you can still do. Then you can go bishop to c6.
Yeah, bishop c6. And if, for example, if we play something else and allow him to play bishop a3 and then play bishop to c6, then maybe he plays rook c4. So I'm not sure that it's in our favor. Okay, Anyway, bishop f8, bishop b2 was played in the game. However, another option is c4. And this is what computer decides to be the strongest move here. What do you think you should do after c4?
Maybe knight b4.
Knight b4.
But this allows the bishop to come up.
Then knight d3 maybe. Okay, so knight b4 is the second strongest move. Any other suggestions?
What about the
Maybe bishop.
c6?
Bishop,
Maybe bishop to c6.
bishop c6. Michael, what did you suggest?
No, I realized if the queen moves, the pawn is hanging. So maybe
Yeah, so the queen move with the idea to force the rook to move and then take the pawn on c4, which is so important in this position. Now we should just try to advance the b pawn. So maybe we gonna play queen c2 and b2. This is how we win the game. Of course, the position is not winning, but it's much better for black. Okay, now let's go back. Instead of c4, it was played bishop b2 move. And what do you think? How to play in this position? Here, black, actually, the move that was played by black in this position wasn't really the best one, but it contained a simple tactical threat. Well, maybe not so simple, but simple for a grandmaster. What do you think? How black played? Knight b6. Actually, I agree with you about knight b6. I think this is the best move. However, this move wasn't played. So then what? No, something like this won't work because knight c4. And the best thing he can do is to sacrifice this rook for our best bishop. But then we just enter through the a file. So here we are better. What else can he do? Just get his rook back, but then maybe knight c4, and somehow we play a4, maybe with the help of our queen. Queen c6, and then a4, a3, and so on. But in the game, it was played another move. Any other suggestions? Okay. Oh, wait. Yashu wants to say something. Okay, looks like not. Knight e3 was played with the same idea to get to c4. But knight b6 was slightly better. And, okay, tell me, what if queen takes knight?
then queen c6.
There's,
Yeah, queen c6 double attack,
yeah.
threatening his rook and the checkmate on g2. Fine, so that's why rook, the other rook to a1. Then knight c4 attacking the bishop, knight to g3. This bishop is protected, but bishop e7 with the idea to get to h4. Now knight f1. Oh, maybe he wants to play knight e3 to trade this knight because the one on c4 is really good. Queen c6, rook takes on c4. So what do you think? What black should do in this position? Take on c4 and then play this, continue this game positionally, or try to find something else and maybe even checkmate?
Here, because queen h1, you can go king to how's it called? King to g3.
And then
And then there's nothing black can do unless he can play h5, but I don't think it's quick enough, like fast enough.
What do you
What about-
expect after h5 is played?
Queen to oh no, you can't play. Queen to h2.
Queen
How
to
about
h2.
bishop h4 now?
Your queen is hanging. He gonna take it.
So maybe check first, then
But then king takes on h4 because
take. And
so if queen h1, king g3, bishop h4 cannot be played. He takes with the king.
Wait, I think I might have found it.
Okay.
Queen to h1, check.
Then
And then h5.
h5. What can he play?
I don't think there's anything he can play to save his position.
Queen h2.
Then he gets checkmated with queen to f3.
Okay, right. Queen h1, king g3, h5, threatening with h4, checkmate. White can't play h4 himself because then we just take with our bishop and it's a checkmate too. Maybe knight h2? No, knight h2, still h4. What if queen e2 or queen e1? How would you play in this position? He wants to secure this square for his king. How would you play?
I would check with h5.
h4?
h4.
H4, king f2.
Yes. And then the queen to, and then queen to.
about queen g1.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no.
Michael, queen g1, right? Immediately better. And queen g2 is the only move, but then queen takes queen, that's over. So if queen e3 in this position, wait here. If queen e3 here, just queen g2. This is how the game ended. So let's go back and try to repeat the main moments of the game. So in here, instead of taking on d4 and opening his rook, we played f5 to get rid of the e4 pawn, to open the bishop. c4, now our pieces can play, and we have a clear plan to advance our pawns on the queen side. While it's not easy to find what white can do in this position. Finally, he played g4 and only weakened his position because the king became weak with our light squared bishop on this diagonal. At the same time, white couldn't create something dangerous for black because the king was well protected, and black always could play king h8, rook g8.
Who did Smyslov play in this game?
It was the game between Svetozar Grigorich and Vasily Smyslov.
19.
What year?
You know?
I don't remember exactly.
Okay. Grigorich Smyslov.
Okay. So the second game, just wait a second. I'm going to share the screen again. Okay, do you see the board now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, fine. So we are going to analyze the game between Samuel Reshevsky and Paul Keres. Oh, actually, they both are. Oh, I'm not sure, but I'm not sure that Reshevsky was Soviet. He played for United States, while Paul Keres was originally from Estonia, but at that time it was a Soviet Union, so he played for Soviet Union. Okay,
I like
so
Paul Keres.
we are
He's a good teacher.
we're analyzing this game for white. It was c4, e5. This is known as English opening, knight c3, knight f6. Oh, this is where I want to check if you know how to play against it as black. Actually, Michael, if I'm not mistaken, you got my course about how to play against English opening. So I'm going to test you now.
I have it.
Okay, after g3, what black can play now? What did I teach you at that course?
I didn't watch the course yet.
Okay, I see.
I have so much material to watch.
Okay, guys, do you have any suggestions? I know that Natalie could watch it. What? D5. D5, not in this exact position. In this. If G3 now, then D5.
When I play however, or just
How about D6?
so I will lose.
Okay, D6 is a different strategy. G3. Vadim, how would you play?
Well, usually when I play, C4 is my nightmare playing against C4.
Okay.
When I play against it, I usually just play so I don't lose. Basically, I don't play by an opening. I just play moves that don't make me lose instantly.
Okay, so you don't know the theory too. Okay, so D5 is a playable move in this position. But no, in this course, I recommended to play C6, and this is what I play. What now? Actually, here you see our idea is to get the second pawn to the center. And of course, there are several moves. For example, D4, but then after D4, it's something similar to a Lepin attack, but with reversed colors. Now, for example, many of you play Sicilian as black. And now, please look at this move. C5, queen takes on D5, and knight C6. Looks very similar to what you play when you see that white plays a C3 against you. E4, C3, right? Michael, you should know.
Yeah, but now you can't play knight C6 to chase the queen. So
yeah, that's fine. We have several options. D5 immediately and play with isolated pawn. However, it's not a bad isolator. It's a very good position because your pieces are active, and maybe I would play D5. Another option that I also covered in my course was knight A6 with the idea to play bishop C5, and this knight can later come to C7.
Excuse me?
Uh-huh.
I was wondering, if can we make couple moves back? Go couple moves back. Yeah, here. after plays D4. After I place D4. I know if it was colors reversed and there wasn't G3 in it, if it was like the other way, that white if white was playing against black like this, he could play E4, or in that case E5. So here E4.
Yeah, E4 works.
I know that's why.
yeah, e4 works as well, but as for me, I don't really like the position there. So e takes on d4 is more solid. Okay, so the only logical way to stop this activity, well, except the d4 move, is knight f3, where white attacks the pawn on e5, right? So, and then of course you can play something like d6, then just continue like Vadim, just make moves that don't lose immediately. But here, if you go through the theory, the best move is e4, forcing him to play knight d4. Try to guess the move. I mean, how to play for black in this position. Actually, Paul Keres played a dubious move. Possible, but nowadays it's not so popular because black found a better way to continue in this position. But anyway, you have
Bishop c5.
no, not bishop c5. Bishop c5, then knight b3 is played, and what then? You have to play another tempo
What
with
about-
your bishop.
I thought d5.
d5. This is what was played in the game, and that's not the best option. Here, queen b6 should be played. Queen b6 attacking this knight. Knight goes to b3. And then we play a5 with the idea to play a4. They play d3. We play a4. They go to d2. And now black takes on d3. What do you think should white do in this position? Take on or do what?
He can take on a4, but
Knight a4, I doubt that it works.
he can get into
What
trouble.
about just take the pawn with your
Take the
pawn?
Okay, let's check both. If knight f4, for example, then what? Then rook a4, queen a4, bishop c5, then what about e3? Just bishop takes on e3 with a winning position. King d1 and knight g4. It should be over. Okay, yeah, something like that. So knight a4 is a bad move. Or Vadim suggested e takes on d3, which well, actually, e takes on d3 can be played by any player who doesn't know, any even strong player who doesn't know the theory. And in this position, bishop c5, queen e2, and this is the question how to play. It's a check what to do, to retreat to e7 or what?
Go king to d8.
Yeah, just king d8. Here, black can just forfeit his castle option. So then, for example, knight d4, rook e8, bishop e3, knight takes, and this position is much better. King goes to c7. These pawns are weaknesses.
It's a terrible position for white.
Yeah, that's a really bad position. Well, maybe you can also ask me, what if bishop g5? Do you have any ideas how black should play in this position? By the way, what's the threat now? Why did white play this move? What he wants to do on the next move?
Take the knight.
Take the knight with what? With bishop? No, actually, this is what we want.
I mean, what white one? Oh,
Because then what? F5 can be played, and I don't know what white can do to stop it. Oh, of course, bishop h3, but okay. Anyway, so bishop g5 is not a good move. However, it looks like it's a good move. Okay, so here instead of e takes on d3, it should be played bishop g2. Then, no, if we take, then queen e2, bishop e7, he castles, and black experiences real problems with development, because black can't castle. In such a case, he loses on e7. That's why it's not recommended for black to take, but just d5 can be played here. And then, okay, wait, am I right? Yeah, d5, exactly. So d5, then what? E takes on d3, probably. E takes on d3, bishop g4, then queen c2, then maybe knight a6 with some activity. If
they're trying to
here,
develop with a tempo.
yeah, black develops his pieces with tempers, and if c takes d5, then knight b4, attacking the queen, as well as with the idea just to take on d5 with the other knight. So the material is equal. And
Or even bishop c5, maybe.
yeah, bishop c5. Bishop c5 can be met with castle just. So I'm not sure that bishop c5 is good here.
But it allows you to castle quicker, right?
Yeah, that's true. However, yeah, looks like it's better to castle king side. Okay, fine. So this is what you can learn in my course that is devoted to how to play against English opening. And actually in this course, all the lines are covered, including g3 and knight f3, where you have to play knight c6 and then d5. Maybe this is my favorite one.
Actually, I started watching your checkmating course, so after I finish it, I'll watch this one next. I don't like to play against English either.
Okay, so knight f3, and we stopped here where instead of queen b6, Paul Keres decided to play d5 immediately.
The English is a nightmare.
Oh, really, guys?
Here
in Novosibirsk, where I live, so many people like to play English opening, but now I really like when people play it against me.
Here where I live in Canada, like I see an English opening like once every couple of months, like really rare.
Can you play Sicilian against the English?
No, yes, but I can't call it a Sicilian, but you may answer c5 against c4 and then do something like e6 d5.
I'll do that until I watch.
Yeah, however, it's something similar to Tarrasch defense against d4, but it's up to you. I think this line is better because
now the Sicilian is my favorite position to play.
Okay, that's good. Okay, let's continue with the game. So d5 here, c takes on d5, and queen b6 now. Knight b3, but looks like now black has no tempers to play a5, a4. That's why here he takes on d5 with his c pawn. Bishop g2, bishop f5, d3.
Why did he play bishop g5? I mean f5 because
f5 to support the pawn on e4.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely wouldn't have found that move quickly. I think I would have developed something else first.
Maybe knight c6 is a good move as well. I don't know. Maybe here.
Surprised me.
Huh?
Of course, it's a good move. It just surprised me. I didn't think of that.
Maybe bishop f5 was played to stop d3 from coming, but actually d3 was played in the game.
Okay.
Well, actually, this is what we already got. So this is the strong pawn center, d5, e4. Actually, it's not such a strong center as it was in the previous game, but anyway, 2 pawns together. One of them is advanced to the 4th rank. They are supported by the pieces, so that's why we can call it a strong pawn center. However, White also has his pawns to trade and to maybe slightly open the position. So he plays d3. Bishop b4 was played by Black, but what if he takes? What now White can do?
But I guess White's getting a weak pawn as well.
White weakens what?
Well, let's see. White can take the e5 pawn. I mean d5 pawn.
d5 pawn. I'm not sure. Okay, so knight d5, right?
Or bishop e3.
Oh, okay. Let's cover this line first. Then bishop b4. How would you play, Vadim? What do you think? No, maybe it still works, but looks like now, no, let's say bishop d2 in this position. Then I can just castle. The position is simplified. I would say it's equal. And bishop e3 was also suggested to be played in this position. Oh, this is a good move. Then, for example, queen a6. Oh yeah, we can play this position. We can castle, let him take on e2, then knight e2, and because of better pieces development, White is better in this position. Not much, but slightly better. However, White is still down a pawn. No, okay, what can you say about this move? E takes on d3. With the idea to castle next.
You get an isolated pawn, and it's a little ugly, but maybe opening the E file and the C file isn't so bad for you.
Yes, White is still better in this position, but instead he can play another move, castle. And if now d takes e2, queen e2 check.
Yeah, he gets a little development.
The d5 pawn is a weakness. It should be taken on the next move. Here, White is much better. So actually, in this position, after e takes on d3, it's better to continue with castling to develop the rook and also to get the king to that side. And there is no way that Black can play to be able to end with extra pawn. So d takes on e2 doesn't work. And if nothing happens, then let's say if bishop e7, then we can take on d5 as well as on d3. Maybe some other moves. No, let's say even these moves work and White is better. That's why in the game, Paul Keres realized it and didn't take on d3. He played bishop b4. Castle. This is where he took on c3. B takes on c3. Castled. Bishop e3. You're taking the queen. Queen moves to c7. Rook c1 to protect the pawn. Knight c6. So again, Black has a strong pawn center. What White should do? How would you play in this position?
If you want to break that center immediately, you could play c4.
Do you think it's in your favor?
It really breaks my pawns, but yeah, I'm kind of. It's almost like I'm giving 2 pawns for 1.
Okay, I see what you mean, but actually c4, it's a good move. Why? Because it also activates the rook. So, for example, e takes on d3, we can play just c takes on d5 and win a piece. If d takes c4, we just take with our rook, and here we can take with the e pawn and then advance it. It's no, it can be called an isolated pawn, but at the same time, I can say that this is a passed pawn because there are no pawns to stop. No, e takes on d3. There are no black pawns to stop it.
It looks like. Okay, so if you create that d pawn, would you try and exchange pieces so you can push him easier, or would you keep pieces on the board?
It's better to keep pieces on the board to be able to advance and attack with this pawn. Also,
Okay.
your pieces can support it, like these 2 bishops do.
Okay.
Okay, so rook d8 was played instead. He decided not to take knight d4 to open the c file. Knight d4, bishop d4. Now nothing is hanging. If he takes on c4, we take with rook, and our bishop on d4 can be protected in such a case. So they take on d3, c takes on d5, attacking the queen, queen d7, attacking on d5. What should we do? How would you play? So it's white to move, the pawn on d5 is hanging, and if here white just I think if white just takes on d3, then knight d5, and black successfully blocks creates a blockade. Let's do what?
Take the knight.
Take the knight, yeah, bishop f6. D
But
takes on.
couldn't you win a pawn?
How?
Just take the d3 pawn.
Knight d5?
And then the a7 pawn.
I doubt that this is a good move. At least queen a8. No, sorry, not queen a4, but
Bishop
b6. b6. And if now bishop d5, queen d5, bishop b6, bishop to h3, yes, f3. Then let's take. Now rook b8 first, and then let's take on f1. Or maybe not. Maybe no. Yeah, rook comes to b2 and should be over. No, at least black is much better.
So you calculated at least 6 moves ahead of what I would.
Oh, yeah, everything depends on the concrete position. Sometimes you just need to calculate in 1 or 2 moves. In some positions, you have to calculate 15 moves.
Yeah, I took that knight to double the pawns and to simplify the position, but I didn't calculate all of that. But I should. Yeah.
Okay, bishop f6. D takes e2, queen e2. G takes on f6. Now the number of pawns is equal. Everything is protected. The pawn structure is better for white. His d5 pawn is supported. He plays queen b2 to attack on f6, king g7. Queen d4 attacking on a7. Bishop h3 with the idea to trade. Okay, let's let him take rook f to d1 to support. No, because he wants to take on g2 and then he takes on d5. If we take ourselves, then we get his queen to h3. That can be a kind of a problem. However, maybe not. Maybe it's still okay to take on h3 because then we can play rook c7 successfully. Then maybe advance our d pawn. So anyway, rook d1 was played in the game. And a6 because the pawn was hanging. d6. What's the idea of d6 move?
Maybe to keep the queen restricted.
There's also plan to play you to get the rooks on the 7th rank.
Okay. If you play rook c7, for example, queen c7, d takes c7, rook d4, rook takes d4, and then maybe rook c8. How do you evaluate this in game?
Then I'll go rook to on the c file. I'll put my rook on the c file, and my rook is behind d pawn. So this is a one game for white, I think. Yeah, that's what I think.
So, but
And
then
the king will get
yeah,
closer to the center.
I see. But then he tries to advance his b pawn, and finally, it looks like you have to trade your c pawn for the b pawn. Oh, I can show it. Let's just make a stupid move, and you play rook c7, queen c7, d takes, rook takes, rook takes, rook c8, and this position, if you play rook c4, I want to play this move. How do you play then?
Then I play rook to. Then I would play something like rook to c1, maybe something like that.
Okay, rook c1. Then I play b4.
Then I play king to the center. I move my king to the center.
a5.
And here, I think I can go. Wait. Oh, I think maybe don't we go back a couple moves?
Okay.
Maybe rook c5.
Play, yeah, rook c, or even like rook c6, something like that.
Okay, let's what c6. Okay,
Yes.
b4.
And now king to f3. King to e3. King to d3.
And then I play b3. You are in time. I see.
Yes.
And if this, you are still in time. Okay, fine. Yeah, this endgame is much better for white, and I think it's even winning. So yeah, rook c7 is a kind of threat. What else? Another idea, oh, maybe if I were playing, I would first play queen b6, then rook c7. Another option is to play rook c5 to get the rook to that side. Rook g5, and then the pawn should be taken because the king has to move. Then no, rook c5 is a threat, by the way. Okay, however, to stop this activity, rook c8 was played. Now rook c7 doesn't work. Oh, queen d5 was played. Rook c6, and what should we do now?
Think I know.
Okay, what?
Take the rook first, and then if he takes the pawn, you move your queen to. You move your queen to c5, and then play like something like rook, either rook to g5 or rook to e1.
Okay, I don't really like what you said, but okay. Queen c5, then rook e1 and rook e7, right? But he can play something like this and just keep the position as it is. How to succeed?
You can play rook d4.
d4 and then?
That's a good question.
Rook h4, rook a4. No, actually, it's a winning position. Anyway, what if the queen takes?
And you have to take the queen.
Yeah, you have to take the queen. And actually, something similar happened later. So let's just go through this line. Like what happened? B takes c6, queen a5. This pawn is hanging, rook a8. And here, rook d4 to start some kingside activity. Rook a7, queen h5 with the idea to play rook g4. Queen e6. And what do you think? What about rook g4 move? Is it a good move? So, for example, rook g4 now, then king h8. What to do? What we can do in this position? Because rook h4 is not a good move. I hope you understand why, because of queen d5, and it leads to a trade. But maybe it's still okay. Rook h5, and the pawn, black has to lose this pawn. If d4, rook d5, and it's over, this should be a winning position. Okay. Instead of this move, just h3 can be played. Then queen goes to c5. For example, h6, queen goes to c5. Then rook g4. And then rook goes back with the idea to get it to e7. I think that was the best way for white to win this position. Play h3, get this queen to c5, and then play this check. However, I think here white played a really bad move. He played queen g4, and then they continued playing the game. Of course, white is better. Here, the main idea is that white can play rook c4 and take on c6 for free. King e8, rook c6. And if, for example, king d7, what do you think we should do? What's the most simple way to win here?
Take it straight rooks.
To trade rooks, do you think this pawn endgame is winning?
I think white can reach the h-pawn before black can come back.
No? Okay, let's go through this line. Yes, and this is the key moment, g4. And then our task is just to get him into Zugzwang. a5, but we have so many reserve tempers. h3, and he has to play here, then king f5, king e7, another reserve tempo, and he loses the pawn and then the game.
What if he goes after the a5?
Okay, so for example, here he goes to c5, right? He goes here, then h4, he takes, then g5. What do you suggest?
I thought earlier, like when he was still on c7.
So let's say here,
Go after the
c5 in this position?
Yes.
Okay. King f7, take. f4, f5, f5, king b3.
They both promote.
King g8, a3, f7, a2. No, actually, it should be winning position, so he promotes. Why? Because of two extra pawns. Just queen f7 and king h7 should be played. Okay, queen f7, for example, king moves to b4, then just king h7 is enough here to win. And if black continues with checks, then our task is to get to the 4th rank, or maybe to the 5th rank, and then do some cross checks. Or like I can show like this. And if so, then even queen f4, check. This is a winning position. So there is no perpetual check. It's fine. So yeah, this pawn in game is winning. That's why king d7 wasn't played. What? Let's continue.
No. Yes.
Okay, rook a8 was played in the game. a4, a5 to stop it, rook b6, rook c8, and how would you play in this position?
Rook a6.
Rook a6, rook c5 then.
Then rook a7 and push the pawn.
Rook a7, I would play rook d5.
Then I would push the pawn, forcing him to take with the rook. I take his pawn. Now we fight for the a pawn.
Okay.
Or I can take the rook after he takes.
Now, what if I just do this move? It's still a winning position, but
too slow.
Yeah, I think it can be played much better. For example, instead of these rook maneuvers, just d7 right now, sacrificing the pawn, but getting the other pawn for the d7 pawn, and also winning another pawn, rook f5, rook e8, and rook h5. Because of his king's location, he can't protect two pawns simultaneously. And after that, black resigned, because if we take here, then we have two passed pawns on the king side, and we win.
So that's what happened in the game.
Yeah, that was happened. What was happened in the game.
I guess some people said Reshevsky was the strongest player who was never a world champion.
Maybe. I think not. I think.
Bulgakov?
No, I think.
I mean, not
maybe Korchnoi. Yeah, from United States. Oh, he was also originally from Soviet Union. Okay, so
I think if you're from the Soviet Union, you're.
Let's go back and get to this position where black has a strong center, and because of so many pawns here, c3, d3, so they are not in the center, but this is how we can try to trade his pawn center. If we have a pawn majority, I can say it's a pawn majority in the center. So one of our ideas is to get rid of his pawn by offering a trade. If we also combine it with some other pieces activity, for example, this rook, this bishop, this bishop and rook are in really good positions. So then you will get more advantage.
So if you want to destroy a strong pawn center, it's worth getting an isolated pawn or exchanging all the center pawns to prevent him from
Well,
having a strong center.
Everything depends on the concrete position. For example, if you remember in previous game, we even wanted to close the position, but to slightly change the pawn structure in the center so that we can use the central squares to maneuver with our pieces. As for this exact position, we played c4 not only to destroy the center, but to use the activity of our rook on the c file, as well as with the idea to open the bishop.
Okay.
So it's more about pieces activity rather than just a pawn center. I just wanted to show you what typical plans can be when you play against a strong pawn center.
Okay.
Okay, fine. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask them. And you can also suggest topics for new webinars. You can think and then send me an email. So to my email, which is tricksofchess@gmail.com.
I have a quick
Okay,
question.
thank you.
Maybe you can answer.
Okay.
Usually in the Queen's Gambit, Black likes to take the knight on c3. Why does he do that?
With
Doesn't
what?
mean
With
advantage.
his bishop or
Yeah.
what?
With his bishop.
To double the pawns sometimes. No, if I were playing with black, I wouldn't do so.
Okay.
I'd better prefer to get rid of my light squared bishop, but to keep the dark squared one on the board. So no. Sometimes they can do this if there is something concrete,
Okay.
but it's not the general rule for black. Okay, Vadim, do you have anything? Any questions?
No, I don't think so.
Okay,
Thank you.
fine. Yeah, thank you guys for joining. Every Sunday we conduct such webinars, so you are welcome. Same time as usual. It's actually what time it is? It is 10 a.m. It's if I'm not
Canada?
it's no, it's New York time, 10 a.m. on Sunday. And for Canada, for Ottawa, it's still 10, right? Vadim, am I right?
The what is?
The time when we start the webinar.
Yes, it's 10
It's
a.m.
10. It's 10 a.m. Okay, fine. Okay, good. Hope to see you next webinar. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.